Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus has returned home to Bangladesh after a trip to Paris for the Olympics. He's set to lead an interim government after the country's Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina resigned and flew to India on Monday pending an asylum request to the United Kingdom. Yunus is set to be sworn in this Thursday and says his first task is to restore law and order. Take a listen.
Today is a glorious day for us. Through this revolution, Bangladesh has created a new victory day. We must continue in an even stronger way, keeping the revolution before us.
Muhammad Yunus speaking after his arrival in Dhaka. For more on this story, we can bring in our chief foreign editor, Rob Parsons. Rob, good afternoon. Tough days ahead for Muhammad Yunus.
Yeah, I mean, a really tough day. He said, that the first task is restoring law and order, and it's absolutely clear that is the case, because in the days since Sheikh Hasina fled the country, the situation on the streets of Bangladesh has been pretty critical. The police have essentially disbanded because of attacks on them. Following their violence against protesters earlier on, and there's been communal violence, there's been looting, and people are scared. So, as he says, the first task is restoring law and order, and he has sufficient goodwill probably to be able to do that. The bigger question, I think, will be how do you establish a functioning democracy in a country like Bangladesh? And there the problems that face him are going to be much more difficult. But apart from the distrust of the police, and to a degree also distrust of the army, which had quite a close relationship with Sheikh Hasina and has a track record of interference in politics in Bangladesh, there's the question of the state of the economy as well, with external debt up 239% over the last 15 years or so, unemployment very high, and that's one of the issues that led to the demonstrations in the first place. So how do you deal with all these problems? First of all, how do you deal with the relationship between the people and the police, the people and the army? And then there's the problem of building a structure, institutions, a political system that will function. He's talking about a new opportunity, and in a sense, it is a new opportunity. He's calling it, a bright new day and saying people are excited. But there's complete distrust of the Awami League, the biggest political party in Bangladesh. There's distrust of the Bangladesh National Party. There's distrust of the Islamist parties. And there's a movement of students. How do you bring all that together and make it work?
It's interesting because as you were speaking there, we're showing images of Muhammad Yunus, 84-year-old Muhammad Yunus, surrounded by the students that actually led these demonstrations. But I want to ask you about the neighborhoods itself, because Bangladesh is sandwiched between India on one side and China on the other.
It's a tough neighborhood. It's always had to balance its relationship with China and India. And Muhammad Yunus will certainly try to continue to do that. But the fact of the matter is that Sheikh Hasina herself, her family, has tight ties with India as well. That's where they went to when they fled. And so many people in Bangladesh will look askance now at India. But they will have to remember, too, that India is by a long way their biggest market. And they will have to be aware, too, that Hindu nationalism is very much on the rise in India at the moment. And people in India are already looking with considerable concern at what is happening in Bangladesh, where the communal violence has, to a large extent, been directed against Hindus. There are 13 million Hindus in Bangladesh, about 8% of the population, and many of them are on the border area with India. 5 Indian states border Bangladesh. The biggest of them, West Bengal, has a border that's over 2,000 kilometers long. People in India are already talking about the dangers of refugees flooding into the country, talking about figures as high as 10 million. That's ludicrous speculation, which is not designed to help matters at the moment. But these are issues that are already being spoken about in India, with some religious leaders, Hindu leaders, saying maybe it's time for India to intervene. That is one of the reasons why Muhammad Yunus is saying it is absolutely vital that we deal with the problem of law and order first.
We'll see how things pan out in the days to come. Things are definitely moving faster. Thank you very much for that, Rob. Rob Parsons.